Yeah.
Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back. It's iDestiny. So today I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about toxic relationships, how to pinpoint them, as well as some tips on kind of how to deal with those toxic relationships in each point that I'm going to bring up. So I'm going to give you guys 5 ways on how to pinpoint toxic relationships. I feel like in this day and age, everybody's trying to pinpoint those toxic relationships and really trying to either remove them from their life or really deal with them. So make sure you guys subscribe. I'm going to be helping you guys get your skincare game together this summer, as well as trying to help you get your life together, because ain't nobody got time to be dealing with no BS this summer. So make sure you guys subscribe for more self-help tips. So let me jump into it. Number 1, I'm going to start with kind of the most intense way to tell if you have a toxic relationship, and then kind of backtrack to stuff that's like, I guess it would be more like almost microaggressions or micro ways of that toxic relationships kind of seep into your life little by little. So the first one is pretty big. If you guys are having screaming matches and arguments and cussing each other out on a regular basis, this is obviously a toxic relationship. And this isn't just toxic friendships. This can also apply to actual dating, romantic relationships as well, but I'm just focusing on friendships specifically for today. But feel free to apply in any way that you see that these pinpoints kind of fit whatever situation you're dealing with. Add it to the bucket. So for this first one, I've had certain friendships where there was just no level of respect. There was no freaking chill. So let's say, you know, maybe we got into a disagreement, it would automatically escalate to like a screaming match, and then it became this whole situation where I was then being cussed out by the person, where they were then going around and blabbing to all the rest of our friends about what I did and how I'm a terrible friend and this and that, and talking behind my back and just continuously spreading rumors. This is obviously a toxic environment. So one way to deal with this is to just not deal with it at all. I mean, obviously if the person has no respect for you whatsoever, you don't owe them jack squat. So you could just kind of move forward with just cutting them off, maybe deleting them on social media, not dealing with it anymore, because at this rate, there's not really gonna be a way to kind of render or fix the relationship after there's been so many kind of boundaries crossed. And again, one thing that you're gonna notice with a lot of these toxic relationships is that a lot of these points I'm gonna bring up have to do with crossing boundaries. So if you're a person who wanted to know more about boundaries and wanted to know what it looks like when somebody crosses your boundaries, a lot of these things I'm going to bring up have to do with that. So that's point number 1. Number 2, you constantly feel guilty when you do things without them. And this is not just you feeling guilty of like, oh, maybe I should have invited them this one time. This is a continuous thing that keeps happening over and over again. So maybe your other friend invites you to go bowling or whatever, and you know they find out about it. Maybe it's on Snapchat, Instagram, whatever. They feel salty about it, and maybe they guilt trip you for it every single time. This can also be something that happens in dating relationships. But again, we're just talking about friends for now. So maybe your boyfriend wants to take you out on a very romantic dinner and your friend wanted to hang out. Obviously that would take precedent to you just kicking it with your girl or whatever, but maybe she's making you feel guilty about it, and maybe she's salty, and maybe there's a little bit of jealousy there of, you know, well, why didn't you ask her to go along, and maybe she could have brought a date, and I thought we were gonna hang out this weekend. If you're constantly feeling guilt tripped or feeling bad for wanting to enjoy life outside of your best friendship or whatever you would call it with that person, then that's a toxic relationship. They're exhibiting toxic behavior. There is no way that they should be clung to you that much and that codependent on you that you feel like you can't even breathe or do anything outside of that relationship that you have with them. If anything, they should be excited for you. I know for me, when I get together with my best friends and we talk about other things that we've done, maybe one friend went to an art gallery showing with one friend, maybe another friend went to a birthday party with another friend, maybe this friend, you know, went to, you know, some really cool art walk, whatever it may be, we're excited for the other person. We're like, oh, that sounds interesting, you know, tell me more. What happened with that? What did you do? Where did you eat? Let me write that down. Maybe I'll try that next time. We're not guilt tripping each other for doing things without the other person. Obviously, if we wanted to do something together, we would just automatically invite that person. So there's nothing wrong with having a best friend and not doing everything with them, and they shouldn't make you feel bad because of that. So, and one way to deal with this, maybe you do have a good friend, but maybe they're just going through a rough patch in their life and they're just being a little bit clingy to you right now. Set a boundary. Be like, hey girl, you know, what's up? I mean, I thought you'd be happy for me for doing this and that, you know, and if they're really a friend, you know, they'll really understand or check themselves and be like, man, I was bugging, like, oh, sorry, you know, I didn't mean to make you feel that way, and that sort of thing. But definitely having that conversation, if that person is really that important to you, I think it's worth making. 3, they dismiss your growth as a person. So let's say you're trying to get your life together, you know, by watching my videos, of course, make sure you subscribe. And maybe you're going to the gym, reading some self-help books, that sort of thing, and your friend is just dismissing everything you do. Maybe they're kind of low-key putting you down in the midst of it, saying things like, oh, well, I mean, you tried to go to the gym last month and that didn't work out. Or, oh, girl, you trying to read them self-help books again? Like, if they're constantly kind of putting you down when you're trying to have self-growth, when you're trying to better yourself, that is not a true friend. That is a toxic relationship. They're trying to keep you down to the level that they're at because something within them feels insecure about growing and moving forward and moving on. Maybe they have no desire to grow, and if you grow, then they're gonna feel some sort of way about themselves. Maybe it shows the insecurities that they have. So if they're constantly putting you down, dismissing you, not acknowledging the efforts that you're making to try to be better, if they're not encouraging you in that, and I'm not saying they have to agree with everything that you're doing. Maybe they might think that some things you're doing are maybe a little extreme. Maybe your workout plan is a little extreme. Maybe you trying to you know, learn to do makeup and doing your hair and maybe changing your style. Maybe they think that what you're doing is a little bit extreme, but they would show that in a way of concern and not dismissing or putting down. There's a way to kind of come at somebody respectfully and say, hey, you know, I don't necessarily agree, but I support you in your growth as a person. Let me know if I can help, but I just don't think I agree. There's a way to say that versus, oh, well, you trying to do that again? You should just give up. That's being dismissive. So if the person's doing that, that is a toxic behavior in your friendship. So a way to come at this again is to really check your friend and be like, hey, you know, I thought we were friends. I thought you cared for me and, you know, loved me and supported me. If you were doing something, if you decided to go back to school, if you decided to do this or that, I would be supportive of you. So if they're not willing to do the same thing, then maybe that's somebody that you need to leave behind and kind of in the past, because when you start growing and moving on in life, it's going to put more strain on that relationship. So 4, they're quick to criticize your relationships, romantic or otherwise. So you're kicking it with your girl and all of a sudden you start bringing up this guy that you're kind of interested in, and their automatic knee-jerk reaction is to put that person down like, oh, well, I mean, you did meet him while you were shopping at Walmart. I mean, what kind of guy shops at Walmart? Like, if they're doing all of that, it's a toxic relationship. I understand every once in a while, you know, they might have something to say like, oh, you know, maybe that guy's not the best for you, or, you know, that friend, I know you might love hanging out with them, but I keep hearing that they're constantly talking about you. There's a way to, again, show concern without being dismissive. So if they're constantly putting down everybody that you hang out with that's not them, that is a toxic behavior. So they're showing that they're really hating on you and wanting to kind of keep you to themselves, and that is a toxic behavior. They should be glad that you're experiencing new things in life, you know, maybe dating somebody new, maybe reconnecting with a family member that you recently had a falling out with, you know, whatever the case may be, but they should be really excited for you to show growth as a person, and to really just be excited about other people in life besides them. They're not the only person in your life. So, and again, this is something that needs to be a conversation with a friend. And I know these conversations might be difficult, but if they're really your close friend, you should be able to have these kind of conversations with them and be like, hey, you know what's going on? Why does it kind of low-key seem like you're criticizing everybody that I hang out with that's not you? And, you know, really come to them with a really loving and caring demeanor, because you never know what they could be going through. Maybe they had a family member or another friend that was very dismissive of them. Maybe they were put down, maybe they're going through a financial hardship, and you're really their only true friend during that time. So really be caring and open about that, and just be like, hey, you know, what's going on? Are you okay? Because I've just been noticing that you've been your behavior, that you've been critiquing me a lot, that you've been kind of talking and putting down other people that I hang out with. Is there a reason for that? Did they say something about me? You know, whatever the situation may be, and kind of get some clarity there, so it seems like you're not attacking them, but you just want to kind of figure out this wrinkle in the relationship a little bit. So let's move on to number 5. They only talk about themselves or their problems when they're with you, and they never want to talk about you or anything else. This is a toxic behavior, because you are not a counselor, boo-boo. You are not their therapist. So if this is a friendship, the road goes both ways. If they want to sit there and talk about their problems, there needs to be a point in time where they pause and you talk about theirs, or they ask you about you, like, hey, what's going on here? hey, how's this going on in your life? How's work? How's life? How's your relationship? Whatever the case may be, there needs to be a give and take where one person speaks, there's a pause, and another person speaks. If it's not that two-way road, this is a toxic relationship. They're using you as a crutch. They're using you to kind of vent and talk and really don't expect to give anything to you in return. What's going to end up happening down the line is this relationship is going to continue to put more and more strain on you until you constantly feel drained when you're with this person. And at that point, it's not a relationship. You're just trying to find a way out. So for your sanity and for them to be able to kind of grow up a little bit, you need to have a conversation and say, hey, you know, well, this is going on with me. Maybe you might need to be a little bit, you know, not necessarily suggestive. Maybe you need to be a little bit more direct. So when you hang out with them, jump in the conversation and say, hey, well, you know, this is going on with me. I've just been struggling in school. I've been struggling with this certain relationship or whatever. And if they pause and it kind of takes them aback a little bit and they go, oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, tell me more about that. What's going on with you? Then that shows that they actually care about you. Maybe they just got caught up in whatever they're going through, but they genuinely have an interest in you and what you have to say. If they cut you off and still keep talking about themselves and say, oh, well, you know, in my life this is going on, or oh, in my life this, then they don't care about you. They're really just there because you're a genuinely good person who's really good at listening and who genuinely showed an interest in them, and because of that, they're taking advantage of you. So be very, very aware of that. A lot of people aren't aware of that until they're able to kind of pinpoint it and think, oh yeah, you know, I never get to bring up anything about myself. It's always them, their life, their relationships, their struggles, and they're never saying anything positive. There's nothing else that they're kind of feeding back into you for you to feel like this is a two-way street in a relationship. So those are my 5 ways to kind of pinpoint toxic relationships, toxic friendships. If that's you, really evaluate your life, really go through these and think, are any of my friends kind of exemplifying any of these bullet points that we just talked about in this video? If this is something you've been dealing with and you're not really sure if it's a toxic relationship or not, comment below. Let's all jump in there and help each other out. I'd love to get in there and kind of know your guys' particular situations. We've all dealt with this at some point in time. Maybe some of us have even been a little bit toxic in the past towards other people. It's okay, we're human. We all have those kind of situations. But guys, thank you so much for watching, and like this video if you want to see more. I'll be posting more as usual. Make sure to do well and be well, and I'll see y'all later. Bye.